Turn the lock.
Miranda! Whoa!
We're taking that card in the car.
Hello, I'm Rhys Darby. Well, this is it, the final show. Not the final show of all shows. This is not the final show of all TV. If it was, it'd still be pretty amazing. Because we're in the top 10. I knew when I started doing this it would be too prolonged, but I've done it now. I just counted down to 10 on my fingers. Now let's not waste any more time with that and rock into number 10. There's models, there's supermodels, and then there's, woo, Rachel.
The pantheon of supermodels is an elite place. You'll find Kate Moss and Elle Macpherson there, and one New Zealander, Rachel Hunter. Contracts with CoverGirl and Ultimo, as well as magazine covers for the likes of Sports Illustrated, Cosmopolitan and Vogue, put her on a golden pedestal. Not bad for a girl from suburban Auckland. She put Glenfield on the map.
My claim to fame is that she's from Glenfield and that's where I'm from. So as any Glenfield guy, we're always just so proud of Rachel.
Rachel Hunter first came to national attention when she was 15.
As a girl, you just wanted to be her. Of course, I was the complete opposite of Rachel Hunter. You know, I was a fat kid. I enjoyed tip-tops, so there was like two equally attractive things to me.
What do you think it is that has made you such hot property?
I don't really know. It's the tip-top trumpet commercial. No.
And shampooing her hair raised her above the dirty unwashed.
She spawned one of the greatest catchphrases of New Zealand history.
It won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
And I think there's something in that for everybody.
In 1989, she made the cover of illustrious mag Sports Illustrated.
1 minute she was a cute chick off an ad, and the next minute she's this major, you know, international model.
It makes you into an immediate celebrity in the United States. If you're on the cover, then, you know, you get obviously movie offers and all sorts of things.
The movie offer was Aussie, starring Joan Collins, a koala, and our Rach.
I didn't do this.
Well, who did? A ghost?
Don't want to ruin the movie for you, but it was the koala. 15 years later, there was another attention-grabbing cover. This time she removed her bathing suit and put on her birthday suit.
When you're in the fashion industry and you go and do something like this, it's like you're kind of creating a little bit of art, you know, and like something interesting for people to look at.
Her choice in bedroom buddies has also made a lot of headlines. First was the slightly known soft metaler Kip Winger, but it didn't take. In 2000, she traded up for leggy blonde chaser Rod Stewart. It was huge news, and their 10-year marriage kept the women's mags in business. It's been a diverse career. She's the Renaissance girl of writhing. A handful of workout videos. Stacey's mum in a Fountains of Wayne music video, as well as primetime American reality TV.
She did Dancing with the Stars in the States, and she did quite well at that. Has she done I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here? Oh, God, yes, she played Ginger on The Real Gilligan's Island.
I mean, she's done better than any other girl from Glenfield, hasn't she? she's gone on for... She started eating trumpets and managed to retain her figure right through it all.
And she's still a global celebrity. About to feature in a Hollywood movie with Burt Reynolds, back home she's keeping it real with the Rachel Range at the warehouse. A game of cricket was to change our relationship with Australia forever.
This is the actual ball. This was the ball that was bowled on February the 1st, 1981 by Trevor Chappell under orders from his big brother and Captain Greg Chappell.
I call it the ball of shame.
Almost the blackest day in New Zealand sport. It's right alongside with the French blowing up that boat in our harbour. That's about one of the worst international events that's ever happened in this country.
Anything green and yellow was eliminated from my household immediately.
It gave us an actual reason to hate Australians. Up until then, we hated them, but never had any proof or reason to hate them.
Aussies are bastards. I mean, they know it and we know it. And never in anyone's life on this side of the Tasman or that side of the Tasman has anything just so evil occurred.
But what actually happened on that sunny Sunday afternoon in 1981?
New Zealand kind of stopped to watch those games, and we always feel this thing of like, Australia is so good, we're going to be very lucky to ever beat them.
They needed 6 off the last ball to tie the game. They're at the MCG, all right? It's like a kilometre to each boundary from the middle. Brian McKechnie is the number 10 batsman. I mean, come on. What are the chances?
And then you just see Greg Chappell go over and go, no, and he talks to an umpire.
It looks to me as if they're going to bowl underarm off the last ball.
Then Trevor comes up and he goes up and he rolls the ball.
They're going to bowl an underarm.
We haven't believed it. And that's a disappointing finish.
That's it. Australia have won. And everyone's just like in the state of shock.
There was outrage. The only person disciplined over the whole thing was Brian McKechnie for conduct contrary to the spirit of the game, because he'd thrown his bat.
Very disappointed.
The Kiwis were upset. They'd lost the finals 2-1 because there was no way to hit the underarm ball over the fence for 6.
And I know exactly the reason he's out there.
To see someone bowl the ball under and not allow us to even have a chance is such a strong image about taking something away from someone and crapping on sportsmanship.
Even the New Zealand Prime Minister, Rob Muldoon, had a go at the Australians.
I thought it was most appropriate that the Australian team was dressed in yellow.
It was quite inflammatory. You can't imagine the Prime Minister saying it now.
It came to symbolise the rivalry between the two countries. Perfect material for a play.
Big brother, little brother, cousins fighting against each other, the spirit of fair play, and the perfect moment in trans-Tasman relations.
Let's have a kangaroo court. I got the judge right here.
Every time something comes up between New Zealand and Australia, someone will reference the underarm. Happened half a dozen times while we were writing the play.
It was directly referenced in this 2020 game when Glenn McGrath faked an underarm delivery. Umpire Billy Bowden gave him a red card. No such thing in cricket, though.
I think a lot of the animosity towards Australia on a sporting level still goes back to that moment. It's about time we let that go, I think.
It was within the rules. It said you had to have a straight arm.
Ah, but it wasn't within the rules, though.
Yeah, it was a no ball. They didn't have enough fielders in the fielding circle there.
They were meant to have 4 fielders, but they only had 3 in the inner circle or something like that.
So bowl it again, you know?
In 1997, they did bowl it again. A rematch, McKechnie v Chappell.
I can't believe that people are still intrigued by it the way they seem to be. I guess it'll continue to be talked about after I'm gone.
The result was the same. We still hate the Aussies.
But I don't hate Australians because of that. I hate them because they're so big and loud. Hey, look at me, I can swim. Calm down, mate. And now we've rounded up a collection of kitschy Kiwi items and we've locked them in holding pen number 8.
Kiwiana is everywhere in this country, a word used to try and explain the inexplicable. Weet-Bix is definitely Kiwiana, but how can you tell what is and what isn't?
It's the voice of the people, I believe, that decides what constitutes Kiwiana. If a certain proportion, large proportion of the populace are doing something, eating something, playing a certain game, it arguably qualifies as Kiwiana.
The best way to find out is with our cut out and keep A to Z of Kiwiana. A is for Anzac biscuit.
I can't believe 2 countries are fighting over which one of these people came up with the biscuit that actually tastes like I'm eating breakfast.
B is for Buzzy Bee. Prince William had a go with the toy invented in 1948. Chocolate fish. D is for decorative power. The power ashtray was taken to the extreme in Mr. and Mrs. Flutie's house in Bluff.
This is their prize shell.
It's gone now, like the Fluties, but there's an exact replica inside the Canterbury Museum. E is for Edmund's cookbook. Scones all round. Foursquare. G is for gumboots.
That's working class right there. That's down on the farm, Kiwiana.
Hokey pokey. I is for Indians.
I am Kiwiana, dude. I mean, I'm an Indian that worked in a dairy. I mean, there should be bobbing heads of me in the back of cars, you know?
J is Japanese sandals or andals. The Kiwi. L&P, world famous in New Zealand. Mince pies. Well, we didn't invent them, but we ate all the pies. N is for number 8, fencing wire. O is for Otrahonga, the town that declared itself the official home of Kiwiana, with its rugby jersey made of number 8 fencing wire.
It's marvellous. It keeps Otrahonga on the map.
Plastic Tiki, the Queen. Old people love old Regina. R is for rugby. Well, actually the silver fern, but we're saving the S for swan dry, invented by a tailor in 1913. Tomato sauce goes good with pies and fish and chips. U is for Ugg boots, made famous by Rachel Hunter, but actually made in Australia. B is for Vegemite, or should that be Marmite? W is for Weet-Bix. XYZ, screw 'em, there's never anything good for these letters.
Kiwi kids. Oh, Weet-Bix kids. But are they?
It's loved by everyone. Aussie kids. Our Weet-Bix kids. Aussie kids. Our Weet-Bix kids.
Oh, well, at least we've still got you'll never be a Kiwi till you love your Waddy sauce. Oh, the Aussies have got that too. Life's shit.
Coming up.
Who's it going, Nick from Shortland Street?
And
Here's the Maori you could take home to your mother.
It is a rite of passage, like doing a yardie or a handbrake or circumcision in the 70s. Every New Zealander must appear at least once in Shortland Street. I myself appeared once. Episode 480, I think it was. Yeah, ambulance, thanks. Yeah, there's been an accident. It looks pretty bad. I think it's Steve and TP. Yeah, it's me. It's Dr. Nesbitt. Right. Yeah, I could help out, but I've got to shoot through. I've got a party. Kirsty's there. No, forget it. Is it you or is it me? No, it's number 7.
Your baby will be fine.
Shortland Street is New Zealand's longest running and most successful soap. But when it was born on May the 25th, 1992 in the maternity ward of our homes, it was touch and go for this nascent show. Would it survive?
You wouldn't have thought that if you saw some of the first write-ups after our first few week episodes. There wasn't one write-up that was good.
When I started out, I was absolute crap. I watch the stuff now and it's just embarrassing.
At least I've got an excuse for being boring.
We actually really didn't know what we were doing, to tell you the truth.
It got such a very negative reception initially, and they've kept going and they've kept going, and now it's part of the landscape.
I'm so sorry.
Shortland Street's life was saved because TVNZ had ordered a year's worth of shows in advance, which allowed people to give it a chance.
I hated it and then started watching it, and then all of a sudden I was an every night watcher. It's like a drug. You have a little taste, all you want is more.
Over the years, it's featured every actor in New Zealand, from Timuera Morrison to Martin Chalkash, Martin Henderson to Danielle Cormack, Robin Malcolm to Dave Gibson.
Oh, touching. Got a bucket. Yes, I was on Shortland Street when I was 20 years old. Got a part on there for a month.
This is my brother, Tyrone.
Thought I was going to be famous, thought my whole world had changed, and it didn't really.
All your promises? Lies. I'll always be Nurse Uffy. I left the show 11 years ago, and I've done copious amounts of other work since, but I'll always get the taxi driver saying, "Did you appear on Shortland Street?"
New Zealand famous is Nick Harrison, who was on the show for almost 13 years.
I'm prepared to go all the way if I have to. It's going to be impossible to get away from being Nick.
I've got friends who are witches, you know.
After his role came to an end, he couldn't stay away and came back as a sound recordist. And he's got some theories on why the show's been such a success.
There was nothing around at the time when it started, and except for the Australian ones. And I think that the storyline's just a bit more hard-hitting than the Aussie ones.
Oh my God, what the hell happened?
She fell off a building trying to talk a jumper down.
I do think that the acting and stuff is a little bit higher level than the Aussie ones as well. Especially when I was on it, it was brilliant then.
I mean, you look all, you know, mushy.
Would that be so bad?
It'd be weird.
Part of the success of the longevity of Shortland Street is that it mixes drama and comedy in equal lashings. You know, there's some kid dying, his liver's failing, and it's tragic.
It's been a mouse system much too long.
Yeah, but it's not that bad. I mean, he's not going to die.
Meanwhile, the other story is Gina was wandering around with things stuffed in her chest, getting everyone to see whether her boobs would look better if they were bigger.
From the very first episode...
You're not in Guatemala now, Dr. Ropata.
There have been many enduring moments.
I know.
Shortland Street has continued to top the ratings with the Ferndale Strangler and the Who Killed Ethan Pierce storyline, and it even pokes fun at its own past.
You're not in Hyderabad now, Nurse Kumari. Go for it.
Shortland Street has now screened more than 4,000 episodes. It would take you 262 working days to catch up. That's a lot of New Zealand on screen.
Now, rule number 1, the white player always starts first. Right, good one.
Here's the Maori you could take home to your mother.
He was loved by everybody.
You don't hear people say they didn't like him or mention his name and someone goes, oh, I can't stand him.
He was from that Howard Morrison era of I can sing, I'm a cabaret performer, I can do a bit of dance, gives a guitar.
Out from behind a cactus bush came Black Pete.
Just that real natural ability to walk into a room and seduce everyone and have them in the palm of your hand and sing, serenade them with song.
The musical side came from his early days in the show band The Māori Volcanics, the same group that produced Prince Tuiteka. It also provided him with material. The Volcanics toured the world, often sharing the bill with comic virtuosos.
Billy would always be on the side of the stage watching those comedians work. So you can say, oh, he was a born comedian, but it's really hard work, and he worked really hard.
What do you call a plastic Māori? I don't know. What do you call a plastic Māori? Prince Tui Tupperware.
He was bringing jokes to New Zealand that a lot of people hadn't heard and giving them a New Zealand twist.
Turangi. Nice. What do you two want this time?
The Regis, you're busted.
Yeah. What, for running lotto?
It was important that it was a Māori telling the jokes too.
Te Pākehā, that controversial project following hard on the heels of the immensely successful Te Māori exhibition.
He was the only Maori on television apart from newsreaders and Ernie Leonard with On the Mat and things like that.
Tonight we have a very special guest in the audience, Mr. Billy T. James. There he is.
New Zealand loved him, loved his jokes.
Oh, to hinder more for the forecast for yesterday.
Every time that Billy T would cross to himself as the weather chick and she's playing pool and she's all, oh, Gilda, you fellas, it was gold, pure gold.
Go in, yeah. Oh, well, as you fellas can see, it's raining and makariri up north and windy and wetter down south. So if you fellas live in the middle, may as well stay home because no bloody good anywhere else.
Even people today who don't remember the original Lands for Bags ads still laugh at it just because of the way he carries it off.
We don't give him my bag. I pinched it.
And it's just such a great little firecracker of a joke, short and sweet.
He also tried his hand at drama, a cameo in Under the Mountain and a starring role in the movie Came a Hot Friday. Director Ian Hume wanted Billy T to be the Tanuia Kid.
So I asked him to do it and he said, oh, that's acting, I don't do that.
Turns out he could, and he won Best Supporting Actor at the 1986 Film Awards.
You're wondering who am I?
His sort of performance in Came a Hot Friday showed that, he was really charismatic on the big screen.
You like to make around?
And it was a shame we didn't get more out of him.
He's brilliant and such a dream to work with. Sad, Billy. Very sad.
Billy T. James died of a heart attack in 1990 at the age of 42.
He was taken far too young, Actually, New Zealand comedy went into mourning for a little while at his passing, and just far too young.
But not too young to leave a legacy.
If you try and find somebody in New Zealand cultural history who brought Māori and Pākehā together, I don't think they would have had the same effect as Billy T. James. I'm not saying he's Nelson Mandela, but I think he had an amazing effect, actually, on race relations and popular culture.
I arrest you for being a Soviet spy.
I'm not a Soviet spy. I'm a shepherd.
All right, then I arrest you for being a shepherd spy.
Billy T. James is held in such high regard that the New Zealand comedy industry created an award in his name. The winner gets a monetary grant and a yellow towel. They become instantly famous amongst their friends, and they blow all the money on parties. I know, I've been to some of the parties.
Coming up...
It's not often I see a movie where I have to, go, I can't watch that bit.
And...
He's like our version of David Beckham.
C4.
When Abel Tasman tried to land here in New Zealand, 4 of his crew were killed. He decided it wasn't really worth the hassle and he sailed on. 130 years later, Captain Cook became the first European to set foot on New Zealand's soil. But he had fights with Māori as well. The Māori were fierce, they were warriors. But in 1990, one author well, you kind of thought that the Maori had lost their way a bit.
Once Were Warriors has the most famous opening in New Zealand film. It begins with a typical shot of our landscape, but then reveals that it's just a picture on a motorway billboard, and the audience is then confronted with a New Zealand never before captured on film.
Once Were Warriors, that was a film that really hit home for my family. My sister really took it badly. Because there's a scene in the movie where there's a lot of family violence. They're all cuddled up, they're all crying, and that, as she said that, once upon a time, that was us.
You'll be okay, Tom. The film was based on Alan Duff's best-selling novel.
Oh, the story comes, I guess, from first-hand experience, probably more from witnessing it than reflecting my own family situation, but I certainly saw an awful lot of violence.
And even he was moved by the film.
I went to the private screening and I was very emotional, and you know, I saw the impact that it had.
So I've never watched Once Were Warriors from beginning to end. I can't watch it. It's just way too real. That movie scares the shit out of me.
It's not often I see a movie where I have to like go, I can't watch that bit, you know? And that's one of those movies. But I still have to watch it, you know? It's a fantastic movie.
I've only ever seen it once because it's such a tough story, and I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it again.
Well, I've asked them back tonight, and you better be ready for it. Do you hear me?
Well, it was a pretty classic kitchen sink story. I mean, this is a genre that's been around for a while, but I think Once Were Warriors, what it did to make it so successful was it applied almost an action film mentality. It was about some pretty horrible stuff, but it was still a very watchable film.
One of the reasons was Temuera Morrison. In 1994, he was on screen as the lovable lover, Dr. Opata. Would he be able to play a tough guy like Jake the Muss?
Anger was very hard for me, not being an angry person. You know, you could really annoy me, but I don't get angry. I go, yeah, don't worry about it, mate. Yeah, I'd walk away.
I'll leave that kid alone. You know, that's your problem. You spoiled a lot of them. No one else are fucking screwed up.
In one review, his performance was compared to Marlon Brando, a performance that created many famous lines.
Cook the men some eggs.
There was that other great line, one of Beth's friends that gives her that piece of advice.
Well, you know the rules, Gil. Keep your mouth shut and your legs open.
All these kind of little phrases coming through. Give us a G, bro. Don't play that shit, bro. Play something we all know. All those little catchphrases in that movie, people find them quite funny and hilarious.
Since it was released, Once Were Warriors, it sort of turned into a bit of a comedy type thing in the way that people talk about it.
It has been parodied countless times. Here in the Mill and Beard Show. And some people found the idea of a musical version quite comical.
You're really stuffed, lady!
That's just awful. How would you turn that into a musical?
I loved you, but now I'm moving on.
But there's nothing funny about the film.
Well, I think Once Were Warriors was not a shock, unfortunately, for far too many Māori families. I think it was a good thing for all of New Zealand to see that some New Zealanders, particularly Māori, live in hell.
Whenever you watch something that reminds you of you and it's not good, it tends to change a person, you know what I mean? And that movie is a perfect example of that. And at the same time, I just think that that movie is one of the best movies that was ever created in this country.
Rugby was big, but Jonah was something else. He became bigger than the game itself. His skills on the field were often gobsmacking. Gobsmacking!
He was one guy that could just individually, you know, break a game apart, and he just did it, you know, for such a long time. I was someone that watched as a little kid, and, you know, you just love him.
And off the field, he had fans hanging off him like opposition tacklers.
I was mental about him. I had posters everywhere. At one point, I wanted to shave an 11 into my eyebrow.
But there was one game in 1995 that made him seem like Superman. The World Cup semi-final against England, and one spectacular try.
Got ankle tapped by Will Carling and I was stumbling, and just as I gathered my balance, I actually saw my cat in front of me. So you know, there was no chance of me actually sidestepping, or else he would have got me. So I was basically just do a typical Polynesian sidestep, basically straight over the top. And I knew if I kept on running, I'd fall over. So I took a couple of steps and jumped, because that was the only way I was going to get over the line. It's the first time I've ever heard Keith Quinn, you know, not have any words to say, really, apart from, oh.
He added 3 more in the same game.
I think Lumu was, I don't know, he's just 1 in a million, you know, or probably 1 in a billion. He was amazing.
He was this young kid coming out of South Auckland. By day, he was a mild-mannered bank teller, and then you give him a pair of boots and he'd just smash palms.
At the end of the day, he really changed the game, and he's like our version of David Beckham when it comes to rugby.
At first it was hard, you know, South Auckland boy, just all you did was lace your boots up on the weekend and went out there and played. And going from that to getting mobbed in malls and stuff like that is, you know, especially overseas, it was just crazy.
There's this 24-hour driving range in Auckland, so we would go out there at 1 in the morning just to avoid the people. I mean, it's just a crap existence, I reckon, eh? The flip side of that is he's impossibly rich as well. We'd forget his clubs, so he would buy a full set of clubs and then just give it to some dude next to us in the next bay.
A lot of the money came when he signed to Adidas for a rumoured $10 million, joining the likes of David Beckham and Anna Kournikova.
He just shot off down the road.
And he was pixelated and stuffed into his own computer game. Then came the revelation that Jonah was suffering from a rare kidney disorder.
I've often been amazed that he's been able to play rugby to the level he has with the handicap he has.
Yeah, I've had to deal with it. It was a tough thing to go through in terms of, you know, keeping it away from everyone, including the coaches and so forth. You know, especially when they say to you, you need to push yourself harder when practically you were sitting right over your limit, your own comfort zone. My name is Jonah Lomu, and this is my story.
Adidas followed him when his story changed from Colossus on the field to invalid in the hospital ward. A friend, radio DJ Grant Kiriyama, donated a kidney in 2004, and Jonah made a comeback that the doctors said was impossible and maybe foolhardy. His international comeback was a charity match in 2005.
Lomu is back.
And he even scored.
Could have been a bit dodgy if we had a video ref, but hey, I'll take it.
He played a few more games, but plagued by injury, in 2007, he decided to hang up his boots.
It's a very rare thing for a rugby player to, you know, to get test matches. You know, you could make the side and not play test matches, and you know, every test that I played, all 63 of them, you know, have been special from the first to the last.
Jonah is one of the few New Zealanders that can pull off the one-name trick, like Madonna or Elvis. It's pretty simple. Just call your kid a weird name. Like, for example, my son. He's called Protractor.
Coming up...
Everyone would tell you, that's impossible. And he did it.
And...
It's one of the things that makes me move about the world, proud to be a New Zealander.
It's just been brought to my attention that some bloke called J.R.R. Tolkien wrote those Lord of the Rings books, and it was back in the 50s. And here's me thinking Peter Jackson was the man behind those fantasies. Well, he still is, of course. I mean, it's a chicken and egg situation, isn't it? Well, yeah, it was Tolkien originally, but Peter did something with it, didn't he? I mean, you know, cameras, whatnot.
It's the biggest film trilogy ever, grossing $3 billion and 17 Oscars. How the hell did it get made in New Zealand by a New Zealand director?
Peter Jackson is an absolute phenomenon. He made a number of small horror films that didn't do a lot of business, and one art film that wasn't that big, and then he made an American thing called The Frighteners, which didn't really do a great deal. He then went to Hollywood and made the biggest movie deal in the history of cinema. And everyone would tell you, that's impossible. And he did it.
When the first of the trilogy was released in 2001, the whole country realised how epic the project was.
We're obviously very happy to be able to be part of this and let the city and celebrate as well.
It just proves that the heart of these films really lies in New Zealand.
It's just a magical place, and I know for the rest of my life I'll spend a lot of time here, I know that.
They became part of our country. Gimli, John Rhys Darby, now lives here part-time, and Sir Ian McKellen has written an article on sandflies in the New Zealand Lonely Planet. It also made celebrities of local extras. Brett McKenzie, before his Flight of the Conchords fame, became an internet sensation with his character nicknamed Figwit.
Stands for Frodo is great. Who is that?
I actually acted in it, and when I went along to see the movie, I unfortunately blinked. So I missed my bit.
There he is. I think. Or is that there, him by the tree?
I still get requests for autographs from all around the world. It's insane. And a lot of them forget to give the stamped addressed envelope. And it cost me a fortune.
But there are plenty of extras that don't get fan letters. 26,000 New Zealanders had a role in the film. And then another 30,000 got to be the sound of orcs going into battle. The biggest star, bigger than the Hobbits, was New Zealand's scenery.
We had a 3-hour television commercial for our country, and then we had it for 3 years in a row. Around about 10% of American visitors who are coming to New Zealand were stimulated to come by the Lord of the Rings.
And a lot of them make it to Matamata, aka Hobbiton.
We watched it happen. We were allowed to come down and be involved, and well, not involved as such, but watch what was happening. It blew us away, the magnitude of it all, and I don't think we probably appreciated how big it was going to be.
Hobbiton is just one of hundreds of New Zealand locations that have taken advantage of the success of Lord of the Rings.
It's really nice to travel halfway around the world and come and find out exactly where the film was made. It's brilliant.
Matamata might also become home to The Hobbit, which is to be filmed here in 2010. And once again, the fantasy fireworks will explode, illuminating New Zealand for the world to see.
If there ever was a pop culture moment, it's Lord of the Rings.
Being nuclear-free has permeated New Zealand culture like radiation. It's in our blood, and even comes with its own soundtrack. Herbs love to sing about nuclear bombs. French Letter is about French testing of nuclear bombs at Mururoa Atoll. New Zealand officially became nuclear-free in 1987.
New Zealand being nuclear-free is the greatest thing that this country has ever done.
It's one of the things that makes me move about the world, proud to be a New Zealander.
New Zealand was completely identified by being nuclear-free. Go David Lange.
Most people associate Prime Minister David Lange with the nuclear-free New Zealand, but we'd been against the nukes since the 50s, and when the French began blowing them up in our backyard, Prime Minister Norman Kirk sent a frigate to protest. In the 80s, at the height of global nuclear paranoia, Kiwis loved to get in on some hot protesting action.
1, 2, 3, 4, we don't want no nuclear war!
People took to the streets in real numbers, and every time an American ship came into the harbour, there would be a protest flotilla.
Because we felt passionate about all those things, personally, we became involved in those political marches and what have you. And then as entertainers, we started writing about them.
Though it was different for the younger folks.
When I was growing up, I had a nuclear-free zone sign on front of my door of my bedroom. Kids had nuclear-free zone, tree houses and stuff.
The protesting fell on Prime Minister Rob Muldoon's deaf ears. He didn't mind nukes, but the majority of the country weren't so keen and voted him out in 1984. Labour and Lange came to power, putting a halt to American nuclear ships coming into our waters. He headed off to the UK to take part in a debate on nuclear weapons.
He had to pass through the States. He got bawled out by by a senior US official. Got to Britain, where Margaret Thatcher was not at all happy with him. There was this real feeling that New Zealand was letting down the side of the Western nations by taking this stance.
Labour they were staunch, and Lange was staunch, and he went on to make the speech, and I'd say it was a turning point.
To compel an ally to accept nuclear weapons against the wishes of that ally is to take the moral position of totalitarianism, which allows for no self-determination and which is exactly the evil that we're supposed to be fighting against.
Wiped the floor with them. It was a moment of true sort of patriotic relief and pride, I think.
I challenge anyone to listen to David Lange and not feel the swelling of pride to know that you're part of the country that's been represented there.
Would like an answer, sir.
And I'm going to give it to you if you hold your breath just for a moment. I could smell the uranium on it as you lean towards it.
This ad-lib line became famous.
I was just getting to that if you just hold your breath for a moment. I could smell the uranium on it as you leant toward me.
Go get him, Dad!
And Tiki Tane also used the speech for his song David Lange You to Bomb.
We do not want to be defeated by nuclear weapons.
Our nuclear-free stand is so uncontroversial these days that even New Zealand Post can celebrate our two-fingered salute to the Americans. And it would be a brave or foolish person who tried to get rid of the policy.
Brash said it would be gone by lunchtime. The way New Zealand reacted to that, we were deeply offended.
Nationals backed away from this policy because the people have already spoken.
We've made it very clear, however, that there'll be no change in the law on nuclear-free New Zealand.
But back in 1985, just 2 months after Longy's Oxford debate, the French blew up Greenpeace's boat, the Rainbow Warrior. One person was killed.
The ship didn't get bombed because of our policy. It got bombed because it was Greenpeace and the French really wanted them out of the picture. It's an act of terrorism. People were very, very angry about that.
So angry that French bread was renamed Kiwi Sticks, and it made it to Hollywood, where John Cusack's hitman had too many morals to undertake the deed.
It's a Greenpeace boat. It'd be so easy.
No way. I have scruples.
The story has been a TV mini-series and a movie with Sam Neill and Angelina Jolie's dad.
Mr. Wilcox, a word with you, please. We were sabotaged. Now.
Even the French have made 2 films, The Rainbow Warrior and Operation Rainbow Warrior. We're probably the bad guys in them. Like a loving couple, we celebrate anniversaries. After 20 years, the Mutton Birds Anchor Me was remade to commemorate the Rainbow Warrior sinking. And for the 20th anniversary of becoming nuclear-free, we exchanged nuclear-free nation albums.
I think New Zealanders don't realise how different we are from the rest of the world until we go overseas. But little things like the anti-nuke thing, I think, give us little clues into who we are as people.
Nowadays, the Rainbow Warrior has become a dive site, and there seems no chance of the country joining the nuclear family.
We know the difference between right and wrong, and we know that nuclear bombs and nuclear power to an extent is wrong, and we don't want to participate in that, and you can't make us.
David Longy, he once said, "There's only one thing worse than being incinerated by your enemies, and that's being incinerated by your friends." Something to think about there. Thought about it, and seems pretty bad either way. I mean, you're dead, aren't you?
After the break, the story you've been waiting for. It's big, it's tough, the biggest pop culture story in New Zealand.
So, like being in these shows? You must get a lot of work, eh? What was your last gig? Oh, here we are. Well, welcome back. Finally, we've made it. Number 1. There she is, numero uno. You don't mind being called that, do you? Good, good. It's been a big ride, but finally we reached the number 1 New Zealand pop culture story. It has history, it involves Māori and Pakeha, strongly associated with rugby, and many skinny white boys while overseas have been egged on to a performance of it, which disgraces their country, their parents, but mainly themselves.
The haka is unique to New Zealand. A war haka is a challenge to the enemy. The most famous of all is ka mate.
I guess it's obviously designed to sort of set the challenge, but at the same time, scaring the living shit out of the opposition.
I would be shit scared, you know, if I was like another rugby team going up against that.
To actually be performing it before a game representing your country is pretty moving.
The ka mate haka was first performed by the All Blacks around 1905.
You have a look at some of the old footage. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. Hands come down, clapping, clapping, I think. Feet come down, make a noise, make a noise, make a noise, make a noise. Hands reach out, one above the other, one above the other, one above the other. Fierce, All Blacks, poke our tongue, poke our tongue, poke our tongue. If you love her, hold her tight, hold her tight, hold her tight. If you hate her, throw away, throw away, throw away, throw away, so away. You have a look at the old footage. That was the haka they used to do.
Buck Shelford also thought it was a bit embarrassing.
We're going to do it. Let's do it properly. Okay, boys, now this is how you do it.
It became the challenge it was always meant to be.
And that's it. That's the true haka.
The new improved version was taken up by other New Zealand teams.
When you see it done honestly, it is breathtaking. But when you see
a 5-foot bleached white swimmer who's had all the hair taken off his body going hard out in Beijing.
I don't know, man. I love it. So, and it always gets you emotional. You know, I don't care if it's like some B-grade hockey team and they came 7th and there's a haka happening in the airport, I'll still feel emotional.
The Australians have tried to combat the haka with the ineffectual waltzing Matilda, and in 2006 the Welsh team's shenanigans caused a strange scene.
They were kicking up a stink at the time that we'd do the haka, so we did it in the changing rooms and came out, didn't do it before the game. The Welsh supporters actually got angry at their union for causing a stink.
The crowd have just realised what's happening. Silence, almost stunned silence, and then booing.
The next time New Zealand played Wales, a Mexican standoff occurred.
Jonathan Kaplan can't get the two teams to stop staring at each other.
It was bizarre, but hopefully something was a one-off, and I don't think it'll ever happen again like that.
To properly understand this masculine challenge, you must know its history and that it's about, well...
It's really about a vagina.
Temiwera Morrison is a haka connoisseur. Did it at Lord of the Rings and done it with Jonah. And he'll guide you through one interpretation of the Kamati haka. It was written about the chief Te Rauplaha, who was on the run when he bumped into another chief.
The chief's name was Wharerangi. He had heard that this fellow was looking for shelter, so he hid him underneath a woman in a pit. Now, because a woman is sitting above a man, he's looking up. All he can see is, what's his view? His haka is all about that. Talking about the placating powers of the vagina it had on all these voodoo vibes. He was getting voodooed out, right? And the vagina was placating those things. Kamate, kamate, am I going to die? Kaora, kaora, am I going to live? Tēnei te tangata pūhuru huru talks about him being the hairy man. Upane, kopane, he's climbing back up into the world of light. Whiti te rā.
But this celebrated challenge has been abused, mainly by those on their OE.
If you perform a haka overseas, you should have your passport revoked and not be allowed to come back home.
One, don't take your shirt off, really. Honestly, keep your shirt on. And two, most of these boys, when they get back to the Taranaki, don't even like Maori. So it's ironic.
They had taken the haka to the world, and the world said, thanks, that'll help us sell cars. It was also used in ads for alcohol, for more alcohol and chocolate bars. Spice Girls have given it a go? Badly. And the real deal was digitally altered by, who else? The Australians. Kamati was officially overexposed. The All Blacks wrote a new one just for themselves, Kapa o Pango. It infamously included a throat-slitting gesture.
I got really sad when everyone started going, oh, it's too offensive. Oh, it's wrong how they do that action. I thought, shut your mouth. You know, when you go on a field, you want to hurt someone. You're not there to be nice.
But the original haka has gone beyond a ritual before a rugby game and has come to mean so much more.
Honestly, when you see secondary schools play each other and they have a haka before it, I've been at funerals where, as the casket is being brought out, you know, a haka breaks out and there's nothing like it.
If you've never cried a little bit, at least teared up when the haka came on in an international sports match, you're not really a New Zealander.
Well, that's it. It's finished. It's been an emotional journey, but we all knew that we were going to get to #1 eventually. And now I guess it's time for me to go. So thanks for watching, and 6 weeks without a hitch. Oh, that's blue tacked on. Look at that, honestly. So that hasn't actually been working the whole season. Good to see the budgets haven't changed in this country. Well, see you for the Christmas special when we look at the top 100 moments at Christmas. I'm not doing that show. Don't even get any ideas. All right, see you later. Woo, rock on. Yay! Cut that bit, don't have that bit.
Thanks, New Zealand On Air.